All right, welcome back to the studio today, guys. I'm out here in my workshop, my heated workshop, and I'm measuring the corners for my new Roman fort build. You can see there, I started to make cuts with those metal shears, and they were working good, but you see once you get into the material too far, it pulls and it doesn't give you a nice clean cut, I don't know, past 5 or 6 inches. So I had to pull out my DeWalt razor blade. I put a fresh, sharp razor blade in. So be careful. And I use this, of course, with my studio build when I was cutting my drywall. So I got a lot of experience using this blade. I went through many blades. This is the material. It came with packaging material and a new full-length mirror I bought my wife for Christmas. And I got to looking at this material and I said, you know what, this would be perfect as the base for my Roman fort build for the upcoming Hail Caesar game. So I tested it. I put several materials like glue. I tried the basing materials that I typically put on flat board. And this stuff did not warp. I let it dry for 24 hours and this stuff did not warp, so it's a perfect material. It's smooth on both sides. And you can see I don't have to use a table saw or a jigsaw. I don't really like to use a jigsaw unless I'm making like tree bases, because it's hard to make straight cuts. Now this way I can make my lines and I can keep the cuts a lot straighter, right? So I'm just going to clean things up a little bit. I had a little bit of fray here and there. I ended up not cutting through the material all the way. So I'm working on the other corner on the other side. So we're doing 5-inch wide base all the way around the fort. That's what the dimensions are. And the length of the corners is 12 inches on either side. Now I'm making this fort modular, guys, so I can condense it to like a side of the board. I can use it to put it together for a small fort. I'm going to make 12-inch center sections so I can make a really big fort. So here I go to turn the material around to do the other the other 2 corners. And at this point, guys, I'm like, oh, I'm cutting into the table, but I don't care. This is an old table I used to game on before I had my studio. And a little background on this table, and I have one like this that's longer. I ran my lawn care business off of those 2 tables for many years before I had a nice office. So these tables have served their purpose. Now they're going to be shop tables. So I really don't care if I get paint on them or whatever happens to them at this point. Nice heavy card tables. So here's what I did. I just took a scrap piece of Luan I had laying around that I used for building my stair risers going down to the studio. I had a piece of scrap left over that was nice and straight. So I just used it as my ruler. Or my straight edge, I should say, not my ruler. So now here I'm going to measure out for the other components of the fort. I need 4 gates. I need 2 large gates and 2 small gates. I'm going to make out of this piece. And I'm also going to make the 12-inch sides that I will use if I want to have a really big fort. We're just playing a game where, you know, it's a siege on a full-size fort. And we could use this for other ancient eras. It doesn't have to be Romans. It could be anything. Macedonians. Right? We could use this for pretty much anything. You might even be able to use it for Indians. A Wild West fort or something, maybe. So I've got my cut made, and this way I'm making full use of all of the materials so there's no wastage. So here I'm making my first. This was one of the 12-inch sides. I just spin it around. So you can see I'm just cutting away at this board and cutting away at it, maximizing the use of the material. And now this side, is the side I'm going to make my gates, also my bases for my towers, the lookout towers. Traditional Roman fort had 4 lookout towers, 1 on each corner. All right. So here I'm noticing I've got a little bit of uneven, so I just take my straight edge and I just clean those up. It was real easy. So cleaning those up. Now I'm going to lay out the fort layout. I'll show you guys kind of the different configurations you can make with this fort. You can make a smaller fort with just one tower in the middle, which you can do that with a Roman fort because that would be where the command tent would be, but you get the idea. It kind of gives you a lot more flexibility. And when this project's done and the game is over, I'll put this in a bin and put it in storage, mark it, put it in storage, so at a future date I can use it for another game. And then it's not taking up a bunch of space down in the studio. So this bin will be marked Hail Caesar 28 millimeter, right? And all that Hail Caesar stuff will go in that bin. Or anytime we want to play Hail Caesar or any kind of ancients, I can pop that bin open and we're ready to rock. And we'll have a fort and any other things that I want to put in there. Now here's the scaled down version with the just 2 gates. Traditional Roman marching fort had 4 gates. And now I'm going to work on the foam. This is also foam that came with my mirror. And I thought, you know what? This is going to make excellent material also. So I got out my old hot foam cutter. I've had that thing for years and years. This is a battery operated model. I think I got it at Hobbyland. And there's others out there now. There's better quality ones, and there's ones that plug in, so you don't have to use batteries. But if you use a lot of foam work, you have to have one of these. It makes it go quick. So I want to cut the front. You can see how I cut the corners, and I just want to do an angle cut because that would be like the approach up to the timber walls. So the Romans would just dig a ditch at the top of this hill after they've made their moat. Not really a moat, like a ditch. You'll see on part 2 we'll go into that. And they would dig a trench and sink posts, just basically making a timber wall. Now I'm going to mark with my thumb where it curves around to the other side. And you can see it cuts through that just like butter. All right, thanks guys. Now stay tuned for part 2. It'll be coming up soon.